So yesterday, as I'm making this video on September 2nd, 2022, Joe Biden made I wouldn't even call it a presidential speech, outside of Independence Hall in Philadelphia. And this speech is basically the epiphany of his so-called administration, his presidency, whatever you like to call it. And a lot of people feel the same way. Yes, a lot of people have been saying that due to the lighting as well as the camera angle and the speech overall, it sounds something like out of 1930s Germany or even that of the Soviet Union. Hell, a lot of people have actually made comparisons of Joe Biden sounding and looking like Emperor Palpatine of the Galactic Empire. But that's not really what I'm focusing on. This speech shows not only his hypocrisy, but also the fact that he's afraid of Donald Trump and the ideology of Make America Great Again. I know that a lot of people, especially with Black Pigeon Speak, says that Make America Great Again is a slogan, but I don't necessarily believe that anymore. I believe that it's a new ideology to try to push America forward, to make America focus on its own interests, and to just be greater than anything before, to have a new vision for the country. But I'm digressing. In his speech, Joe Biden went so far as to do something similar to that of Hillary Clinton's deplorable moment. At least in the case of Hillary Clinton, she at least had a pretty good setting. She was at a donor banquet the last time if I recall correctly, when she mentioned that Trump voters are a bunch of racist, sexist, and deplorables, which a lot of people, me myself included, believe that that's partially what caused her to lose the election back in 2016. But this is kind of different because being called deplorable is one thing. Being told that you're extremist because of you have a different view, or a white supremacist, or even basically a threat to the country, is a whole number. It's a whole nother. Joe Biden basically insulted a major portion of the United States. I know that a lot of people are saying 50% of the country, but let's pretend let's be a little bit more realistic, although it's still a big number. Probably, maybe, you can argue even more, maybe like 60%. But based upon the numbers of the 2020 election, 74 million people voted for Donald Trump to get his second term. 74 million. With a population of over 330 million here in the United States, that's not a small number. That may be less than a third of the country, but that's still a big portion of the country. And that was just back in 2020. How much do you want to bet that it's grown now, especially with Joe Biden's popularity going down the drain? He's hovering within the mid-30s as we speak. Yet, he made this speech hoping that somehow that this would give Democrats a possible chance to beat MAGA Republicans when the midterms occur. Honestly, this has backfired on him big time, because it looks as though that he's trying to he actually used government resources such as the Marines that were staying behind him, and even the White House channel, so as to basically give a campaign speech. I know that presidents go all around to campaign for different candidates, that sort of thing, but to actually use government resources, I don't think any other president has ever done that. Not even Donald Trump. And yet Joe Biden decided to do that. Again, it's very insane. And the fact that, thanks to the setting that Joe Biden was in, especially with the camera angles being such, it made him look exactly like a dictator, with the red line behind him, with the U.S. Marines basically standing behind him, using the government resources, and just basically addressing it as if it was an actual presidential decree. The speech, I mean. And that is what really makes my blood boil, because he actually, not only did he insult me as a Republican and a Trump supporter, he basically, you can argue that this speech and the way he went about addressing his speech basically create a new policy for the government to be completely against MAGA, to the point of calling them enemies of the state, threats of democracy, and such, as Joe Biden says. But of course, he would argue that he did not make such things. He was talking about the people who are violent, which, if you actually look at his speech, that's not what he said. At most, he said that he was not talking about all Republicans, or even the majority of Republicans, which is bullshit. Because last time I checked, Donald Trump has one of the highest approval ratings within the Republican Party, 90% at best, 70% at worst, and yet Joe Biden's being vocal about working with mainstream Republicans, people like Liz Cheney, Mitt Romney, Mitch McConnell, those guys who, by the way, a lot of Republicans, myself included, do not like, and for very good reason. And yet he tells that he's somehow a unifier. Basically, this speech shows not only his hypocrisy, I honestly think that he just completely ditched the idea of being a unifier completely, even if it's a veiled cloak. Still, this is not going to help Democrats whatsoever. In fact, this is more political ammunition for Republicans. I mean, just think about it. The picture of his speech, especially the one that's being shown around across the internet, with the backdrop with the red light over Independence Hall, and Joe Biden raising his fist like a certain dictator, and even those with intellect, probably like that, definitely like that of course, a certain German dictator, or if for people of culture or intellectuals such as myself, V for Vendetta, Chancellor Sutler. But just the image of that alone, as well as the speech, it's political poison. There's a reason why a lot of Democrats are trying to stay away from Joe Biden as much as possible. They honestly think that anything associated with Joe Biden would destroy their campaign. Hell, even here in Washington, a blue state, Kim Schreier, as well as Patty Murray, they don't mention Biden as much. They try to stay as far away from them as possible. Usually they go for attacking their political opponents, at least from the ads that I've been getting. But nothing in relation to Joe Biden. Take it back. Except for one time where they tried to deal with the Inflation Act. Which, honestly, that alone is its own problems. This was Joe Biden saying, "Hold my beer," to Hillary Clinton and her deplorables comments. If he honestly believes that this is gonna stop MAGA Republicans, then he should think again. But then again, he probably has dementia. But nonetheless, this not only adds political ammunition to the right, to the Republican Party, but it further invigorates, energizes the MAGA voters. I mean, MAGA voters would be completely resistant to someone like Joe Biden, who not only insults them personally based upon their different views, but also for the fact that he's becoming more and more extreme. And this goes to show with his own speech. But in reality, if you look deeper, thanks to his poll disapproval, as well as the prediction that the Democrats may potentially lose in the House and the Senate, this is more and more, if you look at it, that Joe Biden is afraid. He knows that the MAGA Republicans are taking over the party. He knows that Donald Trump is taking over the Republican Party. And he knows that possibly in coming November, the Democrats will lose Congress, which means that his entire agenda will stall. And guess who's going to stall it? A lot of MAGA Republicans that he vehemently opposes. And he's afraid of that. Honestly, this goes to show how brutal politics, not only how brutal politics can be, but how much of grave that Joe Biden has dug for himself. And it's barely even half his full term. Honestly, I would not be surprised if there are more speeches like this in the future. But I don't know. I do know that this is not going to help with the division that supposedly Joe Biden is trying to stop. All I know for sure that this speech has been, unless you're the mainstream media, this speech has been condemned as divisive and something that a supposed president should not say, especially when he's supposed to represent the entire country of the United States of America. My name is Noah Meehan on The Art Truth. Please post your comments down below, like this video, subscribe, and share with friends. Also, if you have any issues regarding my videos, such as how I speak or the quality of the camera or whatever, please post them down in the comment section down below or directly message me. Thank you.